All right, it's time for Cleared to Play. Let's do this, okay? We'll take you inside the tent, get you updated on the latest injuries in the Bay. Proud to partner with UCSF Health on this segment and bring in Associate Professor of Orthopedic Surgery, Dr. Nirav Pandya. And it has been a couple weeks since we've gotten to talk to you, so how are you? And let's be real, how are you handling this Rocky Warriors start, Doc?
It's not good. Not super happy.
Yeah.
It's only 8 to 9 games. Everyone needs to kind of hold on the panic button. But I'm getting a little concerned. A little bit about the defensive effort concerns me.
Yeah, we'll circle back to the Warriors and any injury stuff that they've got going on. But let's talk 49ers and let's talk Debo. Obviously, the 49ers came out and said this was not precautionary. He's not ready. So a hamstring injury of some significance. Will the bye week be enough to get him back?
I think so. In general, if you look at NFL players coming off generally kind of like a mild hamstring strain, which is what it sounds like based on the report, you're looking at somewhere between 18 to 22 days. So that kind of puts him in the time for him to be ready for the bye week. But obviously, given his history of soft tissue injuries, you're always a little bit concerned. I think probably the biggest thing for Debo is having McCaffrey on the team is that he's going to not have to be used as much when he comes back. So the best thing for Debo's soft tissue injury history risk is probably going to be having McCaffrey on the team where he doesn't have to come back, play a whole bunch of snaps, and strain that hamstring. So I think there's a pretty good possibility he should be able to play, given that he can be played without having that high usage that they usually use him for.
Dre Greenlaw. I walked up to Greenlaw in the locker room the other day, and I said, "Hey, how you feeling?" And he's like, "I'm not feeling good." The guy had like 30 tackles in the previous 2 weeks, and he's got a huge elbow brace, and he's got a hyperextension, and he's had 30 tackles in 2 games or whatever it was like 35 tackles in 3 games, and he's just got a bunch of dings, and they rested him this week. I mean, when you're nursing multiple injuries, including like a dislocated elbow, and your job's to basically attack ball carriers, can 1 week or 2 weeks really freshen you up and get you back? Or is this something a guy like that may have to just deal with the pain all the way through the year?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think you really are something that you're going to have to deal with, throughout the year. I mean, for any kind of substantial kind of soft tissue healing or anything else to take place, it's going to be at least 6 to 8 weeks. So what may happen is he might feel a little bit better, coming off the bye week, but as soon as you get that first impact, everything just gets aggravated again. So it really is, can you manage the pain? Can you manage the swelling and make him functional from week to week? But it's still going to be hurting. And it's tough, especially with those small joint injuries like an elbow. It's so easy for those to get aggravated again. And when you're tackling, you're stressing that area again and again and again. So it's going to be tough.
Doc, we've talked about Javon Kinlaw before. I wonder if you could just manage our expectations. Like with what we know about that situation, where is your optimism or pessimism standing right now with regard to the rest of his season?
Yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle right now. I mean, I think in general, if you took Kinlaw and say he was just a normal person who got an ACL done, no other pre-existing history, you'd say, look, second season's going to have some issues. He's a big guy. I think the key question we don't know is that from all the time he was kind of dealing with these knee issues, was there any kind of secondary damage that had developed? Was there meniscus issues? Was there cartilage issues that potentially they were trying to address at the time of the surgery but just couldn't be reversed? And this is where that soreness is coming from. And that's really the million-dollar question. If there was other damage in there, that ACL is going to give him an opportunity to play, but it's going to be more prone to kind of get irritated. So I do worry a little bit about it. I mean, he's simply just been too injured, and a lot of that may simply be just kind of the cumulative wear and tear that they're trying to reverse with the surgery, and also his size. The size just places so much strain on his joints. So hopefully this period of time will let things calm down, but I am a little bit worried about what this means for him being able to contribute on a weekly basis moving forward.
One guy that I think Niner fans should be worried about if he can come back or not is Eric Armstead, because if you look at Armstead, when he's in there, man, he shuts down the run. When he's not in there, teams gash the 49ers for 100 yards on the ground. He's battling plantar fascia or fasciitis in that foot. This is normally a kind of more of a basketball injury and running up and down on the hardwood floor, but now you're talking about an interior defensive tackle. What do you think? I mean, he hasn't played for weeks, and is that the kind of injury that can quiet down, or does it have to be surgically addressed? How do you see plantar fascia for defensive linemen?
You're absolutely right. It's a tough injury. I mean, in basketball players, you can turn around pretty quickly. You got a couple weeks off, but with that plantar fascia being irritated, you're obviously worried about it actually rupturing, which can happen. and it's hard to push off, which for anyone who's playing at that position, you're simply just not effective at all. So it's hard to practice. It's hard to do those things, and you're putting so much force across it. So in general, if you look at NFL players who have this, sometimes it can take up to 4 to 6 weeks for it to completely calm down. But then you have that larger question is, well, if you can't really do anything, because that's the only way to really get it to calm down, how effective are you going to be when you come back, and are you going to get that secondary injury? So hopefully with him, it was relatively mild, and they're kind of just being extra cautious with it. But it's hard at that size and for a football player because it's particularly rare to get back to it pretty quickly. So, there are injections, there are things you can need to do, but it really is an off season where this is going to really fully get nipped in the bud. And can you get that pain relief to make sure that he can be effective? But if you can't push off, it's hard to play at the line position.
Doc Pandya with us here on Willard and Dibs. Larry is in for Dibs, 95.7 The Game, cleared to play. Doc, as someone who has played sports and come out of a scrum with a finger pointing the wrong way, I felt a little kinship with Kyle Juszczyk. And because of that, now mine was different than his. He had surgery. I didn't have to have that, but I feel optimistic that he's going to be ready to play when the 49ers play again in a week and a half. Do you share that optimism?
I do, yeah. I mean, we look for, we kind of break finger injuries into like thumbs, which are the much bigger deal, and then every other finger. And it sounds like, I think it was his ring finger. I think that was the report. So in general, for these kind of garden variety finger fractures that get surgery, you're looking at, 2-3 weeks of recovery. So that puts him back in a position to be able to actually play. And you think of the position, I mean, he's not, except for every now and then where he might be a safety valve for Garoppolo and catches a pass, like he can block, his play is not going to be impacted. So assuming that everything's healing well, I don't anticipate him not being able to play. And secondarily, he should be just as effective as he usually is. Blocking should not take a hit with this kind of injury.
Doc, great stuff. As always, who plays basketball tomorrow night?
Ooh, that's a tough. I'm going to go with my man Clay. Clay needs a little help right now.
Yeah, he does.
Clay Thompson. Clay plays basketball.
Okay. All right. Yes, he does. I think he does at least. Doc Pandya, thank you, sir. Always great to have you.
Thanks, Doc.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yep.